So one of the first conversations I have with artists once we pick the material is aesthetic. And I think it's a conversation that doesn't happen enough. Just listening to records, it just sort of sounds like, people just sort of go, well, we got to record drums, let's record drums. Yeah. We need guitars, let's get a guitar. And we really, a lot of what I try to do is talk about, all right, what do we want this to sound like at the end? And we don't always get there, but at least have, I look at it like a movie. When you're doing a film, I would imagine that people are thinking about, what kind of look they want, what kind of lighting, what kind of feel they want. Do they want something glossier, darker, more grittier? Right. So we have a lot of those conversations about aesthetic and what, obviously who are the musicians going to be that can achieve that aesthetic, and then what instruments are we going to use, where are we going to record it, what's, the environment, the space is obviously very important to achieve a different kind of sound. So we really, we talked about that, and then, that's how we arrived at where to record, who we wanted to try out from a musician standpoint, what gear we needed to cull together. And that's pretty normal for me to, when you're in pre-production, to really start talking about these things, as opposed to like, oh, we got to record drums, let's go get a studio and record drums. Right. Because then at the end, when you go to mix it, then that's when an artist will hand you like, well, I want it to sound like this, and it's like, oh, that's
Oops.
not what we have on, that's not what we laid down, aesthetically. So you have to really do your homework and use different microphone techniques. And I remember working on a record years ago where we wanted it to sound like basically like a 70s record. So we chose to not use any technology that came after like 1977 or 78, including, drums and also with musicians that we were working with, kind of prepping them as to really listening to some of those records and how people played. Drummers hit a lot harder now.
Right.
So it was more like, well, we gotta, let's watch some videos, let's really take a look at this and see how people
like going into actual ethnomusicology type of.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's, again, it's a little bit like, like film, like when an actor does background. My dad was an actor, so I would watch a lot of, how people prep for that. And also, if somebody's doing a period piece, if they're doing a World War II film, you don't see, a Tesla drive by.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah. So it's kind of, it's people doing their research and their homework and really getting deep into what you're trying to achieve. And the cool thing is, it never really comes out that way.
Sure.
It's because the music isn't written like that, or but it takes you somewhere different if you have intent, as opposed to having no intent.
Right.
It really, and I read like, for instance, a band like U2 will pick a theme, like a big theme when they do a record, and they'll like, I don't remember what record it was, but it was like, this was Africa.
Okay.
And they were just like, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that really helps. It helps to, what's the global message of what you're trying to achieve.
So it helps keep it cohesive or something?
Yeah, and focused. I think, you have no choices when you have all the options available to you. You kind of need to start narrowing things down, and I find that people are a lot more creative when you limit their space. It's like anybody can be creative if you have everything. Because you just reach for whatever it is. But if you give people a limited amount of time and space and tools, then they really have to be creative, because they have to find a way to climb out of, you know, whatever hole or conundrum they're in. So it's, you know, it's good to have, I like budgets and I like deadlines and I like those things because it makes people deliver, you know, it makes people be more creative at the end of the day, as opposed to limitless amount of funds and time.
Right.
You know, you just get lost.